David Brewster here with a new episode of 3 for All. This is 3 John Scofield Licks from 1976, and I've had some requests to feature some of Sco's music. Definitely a legendary jazz guitarist, great player. And John's career actually extends all the way back to the early to mid-70s, somewhere around 73, 74, and he cut an album with Chet Baker back then. Eventually he joined forces with Billy Cobham and George Duke and worked with them for a couple years, and after he left that group, his career just exploded, and he became a legend, seemingly overnight. He's worked with tons of players. He's a great guitarist. This kind of jazz fusion, kind of jazz funk hybrid. Really expressive and emotive and interesting when he plays, his phrasing and everything. And I actually met John at Sweetwater. That was at Gear Fest back in 2019. And I was completely honored to shake his hand and thank him for his music. A total legend. And as far as some of the people that John's worked with in his career, he's worked with everybody. Miles Davis, Pat Metheny, Jaco Pastorius. I mentioned Chet Baker and Billy Cobham and George Duke and people like that. There's lots of people that he's worked with. Not to mention Government Mule, Medeski Martin and Wood, and a whole bunch of people. But here's an image with some of the people that John's worked with in his lengthy and impressive career. The licks in this episode came from a live appearance in 1976 when John Scofield was playing with Billy Cobham and George Duke at the Montreux Jazz Festival in 1976. And that's a very historic, concert. In 1976 is also the same year that Tommy Bolin passed away, and he famously played on Billy Cobham's Spectrum album. And during this performance, John plays Red Baron, also Taurus from that album, and it was a great concert. And I pulled some really tasty, almost signature licks from John. And there's some interesting things. There is a lick from Red Baron, by the way. But anyway, here we go. Alright, the first lick serves up kind of a signature John Scofield phrase. Definitely signature for 1976. He definitely kind of grew as a musician, after this concert. But we're basically in G minor 7, and it's something like this. One more time. So like I said, we're in G minor 7. And to kind of help you get a little, better earful of what this lick sounds like against chords, I'm actually going to use the MXR clone looper in this lesson and definitely kind of serve up like an authentic, reproduction of this lick. So it's played over G minor 7, and I kind of made a little vamp like this. And then that lick over that G minor 7 vamp sounds like this. Something like that. So he's actually starting on this B flat and then pulls off to A, and he's targeting that A. So over G, that's the 9th right there, right? That's the first little phrase right there, that B flat to A. And then you hear that A, E, and then a hammer onto that G. And that's one thing about John's phrasing and the style that, when he plays, is he sneaks in legato and slurs and slides and stuff, and it's real subtle. Like, it's not really, banged over your head. You really have to listen for it or notice it, if you can see him play, like that. Right? So it starts with a pull-off, and then right there you're doing a hammer-on. And right there, grab that A, E to D. Like that. And then the second phrase, you're going to grab that D note, hammer onto F, and then you're going to come down like G minor pentatonic fast, like that. So that D all the way down to that F, like that. And then when you get to that F note, you're going to slide this F up to the octave G right there. Like that. And then at the end, you're just going to grab this D, F, and end on that G. Like that. Really expressive phrase. The next idea is the slick melodic phrase, and it's something like this. One more time. So this one's over B minor 7 now, like that. And once again, I've got a little loop here. It's just a chord, just a B minor 7 chord, like that. Kind of hear it against a chord like that. And we're basically playing out a B minor pentatonic, and once again it's the phrasing, it's the way he's putting the notes together, because he's really just playing a handful of notes, but he's working them and kind of reworking them like this. So right there you're going to basically go from E to D, and then you want to hammer on D to E like that, and then you're going to bend that E like that, and you're just basically playing with D and E right there in the beginning, and then this D to A, or sorry, B to A on the D string, and then you're going to do this shift slide F sharp to E, and then you're going to smear that D note at the end like that. And I just like the way it's kind of put together. It's not really hard to play, but it's phrased in a really interesting way. Like that. Next up's a bluesy Red Baron phrase, and this takes place during the performance of Red Baron during this concert. And this is really interesting to notice, like what Tommy Bolin played during, Red Baron. Here's Scofield in '76. I've also checked out, Jimmy Herring playing this song with Jazz is Dead. That was in the early 2000s. But anyway, this is in G minor 7, and it's something like this. One more time. And then I set up kind of a Red Baron jam here with my loop, like this. So you can kind of hear it against a chord. Really cool phrase. So definitely think of like G minor pentatonic right there. And he's basically starting with this F. Like that, so you kind of smear bend that F and then that D, C, D. So like that. And you're going to basically kind of smearing that B flat, and then you're hearing that bend on that C. Like that. So really slow. So the trick there is you're bending that C note, and then you're going to do a hammer on B, B flat to C. Like that. And then after you come down from that, you're going to catch this F and bend that to G. Something like that. And then come down like G blues. Like that. So here's that lick again, kind of slow. Time with the backing. Such a cool lick. Here's a bonus lick from this footage, and it's a really interesting whole tone scale legato phrase. And anytime I come across something using the whole tone scale, I always check it out, because you don't really see that much unless it's like kind of crazy classical or jazz or prog rock or something. You don't really come across a whole lot of whole tone scale stuff unless it is like heavy jazz. But the interesting thing here, like the chord progression behind this is really unusual, because it's going from E flat to F. And then you distinctly hear it end on E. And the guitar's not actually playing that. That's kind of a combination of what the bass and the keyboards are playing behind John. But E flat, F to E. And you hear this lick. One more time. So right there, we're basically climbing up kind of slowly through this. Right? Like that. And then you hear him shift slide into that B flat. You're going to grab that B flat and you're going to shift it up a whole step. Like that. And that's where the whole tone kind of aspect comes into play. And you could actually keep going up. We're just going up, 2 frets at a time. But he actually only does that shift like that once. And then after that part, then just shift slide that C into D. Like that. Like that. And with those chords looped behind me, you can actually hear a little bit clearer as far as what's going on there, like this. One more time. And I like that kind of push where it's moving, higher like that. And you just don't really see a lot of whole tone scale stuff. So anytime I notice it, it's like, yeah, let's check that out because it's unusual, but really cool. Alright, that's going to wrap this episode of 3 for All with 3 John Scofield Licks from 1976. Definitely a great guitarist, a legend of the guitar, especially jazz guitar, obviously. But I know I've talked to lots of people that aren't really jazz musicians that love Scofield, and they were checking him out, during the Government Mule sessions and working with Medeski, Martin, and Wood. And he definitely kind of entered like the jam circuit for a while. I'm not really sure if he's doing that anymore, but it was really interesting to hear him kind of step out of traditional jazz, groups and form, doing stuff with Warren Haynes and Medeski, Martin, and Wood and some of those players. Really interesting. And I like that, where a musician, instead of just staying in their comfort zone and working with musicians and within styles they're used to, John has constantly and consistently burst out of, like wherever he was comfortable, he'd change his band, change his musical direction or style. And that's really, what you're supposed to do as an artist and a musician. You're not supposed to remain stagnant and just stay in the same place the whole time. You're supposed to move and grow. So anyway, leave some feedback and comments, and please subscribe to Late Night Lessons, and I'll be back before you know with more content and material. Thank you.